All right, Adam, we're here to preview the Stanford game where media availability is done for the week, and the Buffs still trying to end that losing streak. You think this is the week, or I know we'll get in predictions later, but how do you feel with this team right now?
I don't think they've given up, which is the most important thing, obviously. I said earlier this year I hate must win because it's overused, but hey, now this football team really is in must win. They've got to win all three of their games, and so it's homecoming. Going to be really good weather at Folsom Field on Saturday. You win this game, you end the losing streak. You still have that bowl carrot in front of these guys for senior day. They're going to enjoy a bye week, go against Washington. You still have that in front of you. So it's a big game, I think, to keep this team from giving up some of those, especially the seniors. This is their last hope at a bowl game. So Steven Montez obviously has to play a lot better than he has recently. So he's the key for this game. If he can get going, they've played competitive in every home game this year. So I don't envision them getting blown out on Saturday.
I don't either. How important is that carrot? Because that carrot of the bowl game has been out there, and yet they've lost 5 in a row, and games that were winnable. So, but as you go down the stretch, and it is 5 in a row, how important do you think that carrot is to still be there?
I think it helps, but at the end of the day, you've got to take pride in yourself and want to put on a great effort, right? That's probably number one, more so than I don't think these guys are running out on Folsom Field going, okay, I got to make a play right now, otherwise we're not going to be bowl eligible. But I do think it helps that there's still that goal, right? Because they can't win the Pac-12 South now, obviously. That's one thing you can still kind of point to.
And one guy is Steven Montez. He's been a big topic this week about what they should do at the quarterback position. I like Steven. I think he's played well for a good portion of his career. He's in the toughest stretch of his career right now. He's on the verge of records, but he's playing some tough football right now. What do you feel like they should do at the quarterback position right now? Is it time to make a change? I know a lot of fans call for that. What would you do with that position right now?
Definitely not right now. You have to let him go out there still with that possibility there. He's got some records that he can break. Just one more touchdown, he breaks the passing touchdown mark. I think it's like 475 yards the last 3 games he needs to get to break the passing yards record. He hasn't quit on this team, so don't quit on him quite yet. I know Tyler Lytle's been banged up. He hasn't been able, I think you'd mentioned, he hasn't thrown the football the last few weeks, so you're not going to go with him. Blake Stenstrom, maybe you try to, if it's a blowout now, I think you get him in there earlier than you did when you were getting blown out earlier in the season. You want to get him some reps, but I'm not quite sure he's the future of that position here. So stick with him for now. I think the thing that is the most frustrating with Steven Montez is just the lack of development. You go back his redshirt freshman year, he played in 10 games. His quarterback efficiency that year, his rating, every year it's gone down slightly. It just he does some things you just don't expect a senior quarterback to still be doing out there.
And for him, I think that the transition to so many different coaches over the years has been tougher than maybe he's led on, and credit to him for not using that as an excuse. But I think that's been tougher on him than maybe he says. Not to make excuses fully for how he's played, but it's tough to not see. You want to see a much better player in 2019 than we saw in 2016, and I don't think we're seeing that. And right now Steven's in the toughest stretch of his career. I agree with you. I would still start him as long as that bowl game is out there, and maybe
even on senior day too. I don't think.
And on senior day, I think you start him then as well. But I think I'd probably have a shorter leash, and if obviously if it's a blowout, maybe get him out of there earlier than you might have. But what if he throws a couple picks early and it's only 10-0? And he doesn't look like he has it. Would you take him out then?
I just don't think the backup quarterback's going to come in there and miraculously lift this program up. I don't know. Again, I think there might be some situations out there where it's easier to get a Blake Stenstrom or if Tyler Lytle's back healthy out there for some reps. But I don't know, is it more beneficial for this program? Even let's say they lose the next 2. They go out to Utah. Would you rather have Steven Montez in that game, thinking that he could make your team have a better chance to be competitive, to try to get some momentum going in the offseason, or are you just in complete developmental mode at that point and you don't care if you get blown out? I don't know if there is a clear answer, a right answer to that question.
Well, and I don't know if there is either. I just think it'll be interesting to see how this coaching staff handles that, if it'll be any different down the stretch with handling him. Obviously, there's other things going on with this team besides Steven. The defense is still giving up 30 points every single week, and I think there's some improvement there. I think there's some positive signs, but they're coming up against a Stanford team that now has their quarterback back, KJ Costello, that when he's healthy, and he hasn't been a whole lot this year, but when he's healthy, he's pretty darn good. So that's a big challenge for this team this week.
Yeah, I mean, Costello was one of the top two guys at the quarterback position coming into the season. It wasn't until last week that he finally put up, the stats. You mentioned the injuries there.
Yeah.
The Stanford offense is not a bad unit, but it's probably, I think statistically, because they're not playing, who's last in the conference is Cal in offense.
Yeah.
They don't play Cal this year, so this might be statistically at least the worst offense you're playing all season.
Right.
I know that Tyson Summers said that Scarlett, their running back, is one of the best they've seen. He's really good at getting yards after the contact. Weddington is a pretty versatile guy there. They don't have, unlike the previous Stanford teams that David Shaw's had there, they don't have that one guy that you really point to.
Yeah.
Like J.J. Whiteside, Christian McCaffrey before that, going way back, Toby Gerhart. They always seem to have that one dynamic guy on offense. And, Costello is a pretty good quarterback, and it sounds like he's healthy now. But this could be a week where maybe this defense has a chance to break that streak of giving up 30 or more points.
The one thing I'll say is that this team, Colorado's been very vulnerable across the middle and with tight ends, and Stanford uses that tight end very well. I'm blanking on the kid's name. Colby Parkinson.
Yeah.
I think he could have a big game. He's a guy that seems like a nightmare matchup for this defense. So we'll see. I agree with you. There's not that one guy. There's not that McCaffrey or guys like that. But KJ Costello is there. I think that gives them a pretty good weapon there.
It's crazy. Their top receiver is 17th in the conference in receiving yards per game. There's 5 Washington State players that rank above him, which I know that system creates crazy stats, but it's kind of crazy. There's 3 USC receivers, 2 Colorado receivers, ahead of any guy on Stanford in terms of receiving yards per game.
Yeah, that's crazy. It'll be an interesting game to see what happens this week. Obviously, the Buffs got to get going offensively. They got to get Steven going. Defense would be nice to see them get something rolling. So what do you see out of this game?
Are we good jumping into predictions here? Or?
Yeah, you ready, or is there anything else you want to
Well, I mean, again, you look at Stanford's defense, and it's definitely better than their offense has been statistically this year.
Yeah.
But even there, their top tackler is like 24th in the conference.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, again, not that unit where you point to one guy as being a standout. It's been kind of...
Although I would say Adebo, one of the best corners in the country.
Yeah. But, David Shaw was the picture of consistency in this conference. They averaged over 10 wins, and I think he's been there the previous 9 years.
Right.
You started to see a little bit of chinks in their program. They weren't getting over that 8-win threshold the previous 2 years, but this is a good time to catch Stanford, even though they do have Costello back in the mix.
Yeah, this is a Stanford team that's 4-4. They've got to win 2 of the next 4 just to get to a bowl game.
Yeah.
Obviously, no conference title, 10-win season in store for them. But it's not quite the Stanford team we've seen before. But this Colorado team is struggling right now, so it's still a tough matchup for Colorado.
No question. In terms of prediction, I don't know if you're going to still be Mr. Optimistic. I have not been. I've been more on the pessimistic side of score predictions, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to predict Colorado puts it together. Again, home field has been big for this team. And not only that, I'm going to make another prediction. This is the week they end that scoring streak of allowing 30 or more points. It's 14 games now?
14 games, yeah.
I think that ends. But I mean, it's going to be a close game. Colorado's not going to blow out Stanford. I'll say 30-28. My
optimism has made me weary at this point.
It's run dry?
Yeah, it's just I've been so optimistic and it just hasn't come. Now, I have been accurate the last 3 weeks on the opponent's score, so we'll see if I can keep that going. But I just think with KJ Costello back, I've got to think Stanford hits that 30-point mark. Until I see you stop somebody from hitting that, I'm going to think that Stanford can get there.
Okay.
I think Stanford gets there. I think that the Buffs offense they've been better at home. I mean, they played well mostly at home. I just don't think that right now the psyche of this team, I'm not sure they can rise up and win this game. I'm going to go with Stanford winning this one, and I'll go 34-30.
Okay. And it's going to be a big recruiting weekend for Colorado. Obviously, Antonio Alfano commits this week, and that's some momentum. They're going to have some blue chip guys out on official visits. Some of their commits are going to be coming out. I think sometimes fans overreact if a team does lose the game, how much that affects recruiting.
Yeah.
But Mel Tucker can, no matter what happens, if they win the game, he can tell these guys, look, you're part of what can be a missing piece for us.
Yeah.
And if they happen to lose the game, they can really point to, we need you guys.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure wins and losses is a huge deal. It's nice if you can win with all those guys there. I'm not sure it's the biggest deal.
Winning over a long period of time is huge in recruiting, but
Right.
individual games is not always the biggest factor for these kids.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, big weekend for the Buffs in a lot of ways, and we'll be back after the game to talk about it.